to adopt the agenda as printed?
Moved.
Second.
On adoption, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have two delegations this evening. First of all, Bill Rogers is here regarding 635 Pritchard Road, a secondary suite rezoning application. Mr. Rogers is here. And to answer any questions that council may have, I don't know if council has any questions of Mr. Rogers at this time. If they do, then you have to come forward. Otherwise, you get to sit there. Or wait, well, later in the meeting we'll be dealing with that. You don't have to stay for that. So any questions from members of council? All right, you're off on that one. And then we have John and Judy Babin here regarding similar rezoning application for secondary suite at 1958 Wilford Avenue. Any questions for Mr. and Mrs. Babin? Seeing none, again, you have escaped. You may escape. All right, so we'll move on to minutes of meetings. So first of all, for the February 15th council meeting, we have minutes for approval.
Moved.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And then we have the committee of the whole meeting minutes for receipt, February 22nd.
Moved.
Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have a number of recommendations from that committee, and the first is that marina rates for 2012, and that the rates for Comox Municipal Marina be increased by 6% in 2012, 12% in 2013, and 6% in 2014. Is there a mover for that?
I'll move that recommendation.
Moving second, discussion. Councilor Price.
Yes, just that there has been some concern about a 24% increase over 3 years, and that although I think it is a good move to a par with the private facilities there, to do it in a 3-year period with a 24% increase may, I think, be too fast. What has been pointed out in the correspondence, and I have had a couple of telephone calls on this, is that some of the boats down in the town marina are owned by people that are of a relatively low income, that they're low-cost $6,000 boats, and when you're getting up to $2,000 for the moorage, it can start becoming a difficult situation. So I was going to suggest, one of the letters suggested a different combination of 4, 8 and 4, just to move in that direction without being such a big increase. So I'd like to suggest that we amend it to 4, 8 and 4.
Okay, so that's a motion to amend the recommendation?
Yes.
So the amendment is moved. Is there a seconder for that?
I'll second it just for a question, so I can ask a question.
Certainly. On the amendment to go 4 in 2012, 4% in 2012, 8% in 2013, and 4% in 2014. Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I had in my notes that the increase was necessary for maintenance of marina. Is that correct? Just to staff?
I can get a CAO or Director of Finance. Go ahead.
I think that you'll find under your strategic plan, page 75 of your agenda, that there's, under your goals, you say develop plan for marina boardwalk community space. And one of the steps that one of the actions you'll take in 2012 is bring municipal marina rates in line with other adjacent operations. So I believe that this comes out of your strategic plan.
I think that's true. Yes.
In terms of operating expenses, we had proposed earlier a 3% increase.
So it's over and above operating expenses. Councillor Tom.
One of the reasons we're raising the rates there is to help fund our plans down there for Marina Park, which I think is a fabulous idea. But it's also to get the municipal marina rates on par with the other marina. And I have a hunch that the other, the privately owned marina are going to continue to raise their rates by 3%. So if we don't go with the recommended 6, 12, and 6, we're going to be further behind 3 years from now. And so there has to come a time where we have to take the plunge. And I know it's hard on some people, but I deal with a lot of people every day who are just struggling to survive, let alone struggling to keep their boat in the marina. So I don't have a whole bunch of sympathy for that.
The rates as proposed are also printed on page 52. So in terms of a 20-foot boat for this year, annually, it would be $1,118.40. And it goes up, of course, to as much as a 41-foot boat. And then you can see the projected increases year over year based on the 6, 12, and 6. So there are increases proposed, but for it to be as much as $2,000, you'd have to have a 30-foot boat for this year.
Good point, thank you.
Councilor Fletcher.
And just comment that we did receive a letter in our reading file, and I noted it was in the paper today in the Echo. And one of the comments made was that we should reference ourselves to the Comox Valley Harbor Authority. Well, I have a boat at the Comox Valley Harbor Authority, and I'd love to have it in the Comox Marina, but it's an extremely lengthy wait list. Haven't had an opportunity to get in. But they're just not apples and apples. The Harbor Authority, you don't get your own personal slip. You raft up. You often have other boats beside you. You get juggled and moved around. So, and the price for, so we have a 29-foot boat. So our total cost per year is $1,461.60. So, yeah, compared to Comox, there's presently it would be about a $300 difference. But like I said, the advantage of having a slip where it's yours, you're not bumped and moved around, it's quite valuable, I think. So you can't compare the two in that aspect.
Okay.
Want to comment on that?
Thank you. Anything further on the amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? Those opposed to the amendment? The amendment is defeated. So we're back to the main motion, unamended. And is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Okay, we have recommendations regarding utility fees for forwarding to council for first, second, and third readings of the refuse collection bylaw amendment, the sewer user rate bylaw amendment, and the water rate amendment, which we'll deal with shortly. Those are recommendations that have been referred, and they will be dealt with later on under bylaws. So, motion to refer all those would be in order. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. We'll deal with those shortly. Third recommendation, again, the issue of establishing metered rates for all meter users, we refer back to staff in order to consider the formulas, and then that's going to be dealt with later, so motion to do that.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Lazo Road foreshore erosion, again, recommendation that staff complete the annual inspection of Lazo foreshore, San Pines Road to Calgary Hill, and also that level can be retained to reassess the section of the foreshore at the end of our 5-year capital plan and site portion rates can be necessary.
Move. Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Then we had a motion requested by John Wilson regarding provincial investment rail cycling infrastructure, and it's been listed in there in some detail, and that the town of Comox is going to be urging the province of British Columbia to invest in cycling infrastructure in rural communities, etc. So rather than reading all that, is there anyone wish to move that?
So moved.
Was there a seconder? Seconded for that? Okay. So if it doesn't get seconded, then the motion dies. Okay. No seconder, the motion falls away. Right. Page 19, management report for receipt.
Move. Second.
Moving second on the manager report. Receipt, all those in favor? Motion carried. Anything further? Staff, I know, are continuing to work on the DL 194, and presumably there'll be some public input further into solid waste management. I believe the public meeting for Comox is on the 28th March in the Distillery. Between 5 and 8, and I think there's a presentation at 7. So that's been published in our papers and so.
And I think regional district staff also wish to make a presentation to council on April 4th.
Oh, okay, great. Great, yeah. Questions? All right, so that's been received, nothing further there. And we're on to page 21, the rezoning application, or is it 12-3?
Move third reading.
Thank you.
Second.
On third reading, any discussion? Those in favor? Motion's carried.
And I'll move adoption as well.
Thank you.
Second.
Adoption, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, that was Mr. Rogers' application, so that's now approved, sir? And you will get a letter from us to confirm that. All right, page 29. This is the staff report regarding 2012 funding for water meters. So motion to receive that would be in order.
So moved.
And receive that, all those in favor? Motion carried. This was our Director of Finance, so after this report, relatively self-explanatory. Any questions arising from that? Councilor Tom?
At the last meeting, we looked at a rate of $24 a month and 88 cents.
Sorry, Tom, this is the one ahead of us.
Oh, sorry.
This is on the monies that were spent for the...
Oh, I
water
think,
meter.
all right. I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
To the mayor, to the director of finance, I thought I had read somewhere that the regional district gave us back money to the tune of, where the total amount was $650,000, so that's not right?
We've spent that over 2 years. Some of the metering expenses were in 2010, and the remainder in 2011. So the balance we had in our budget for 2011 was a carry forward from 2010, plus a second payment from in 2011.
Okay, so I'm correct then, that we did get $650,000 back from the regional district.
I'm not sure of the exact amount off the top of my head. I was writing this report because I thought the question was, where did the funding for the 2011 expenditures come from?
Well, what was bothering me is that I thought I had seen that we got $650,000 back, and the financial plan that we approved for funding of water meters only included $450,000, and that extra $200,000 that we got back, I don't know where you got the authority and the approval to spend that on water meters.
In fact, the 2010 financial plan had funding for the 2010, for the metering program in 2010, and we approved it again in 2011.
But it was the same $450,000.
No, it wasn't. No, in fact, we carried forward the unspent regional district money, as well as the money we haven't spent from the Community Works Fund and our capital reserves.
Okay, so all of a sudden there's an extra $200,000 that came into the mix here. So that reduced the amount we had to take out of general revenue or out of gas tax?
What reduced the amount that we had to take out of general revenue and gas tax was the fact that we didn't spend as much on the metering program as we budgeted. The original budget, you'll recall, in 2010 was $1.35 million. And in fact, when you combine the 2010 money that was spent on top of the 2011 budget, which was a carry forward, the estimated price went up somewhat. Right? The total budget across the 2 years was more than 1.35, but we didn't spend anywhere near that amount of money.
But you did spend $650,000 that we got back from the regional district?
Again, I can't confirm the exact dollar, but yeah, on that order of magnitude.
But this council only approved spending $450,000 of that. So I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, I guess what happens, I believe that we were just carrying over the 2010 program into 2011 because we didn't finish it. But in fact, somewhere along the line, we got an extra $200,000 back from the regional district. You threw that into there and then reduced money that you were taking out of general revenue in that. And I sort of always was under the impression that we were the ones that guided staff on what we do with it, with these programs and with budgets. And I'm just a little concerned that that happened.
I guess I'm puzzled, Your Worship, because council approved the 2010 financial plan and the 2011 financial plan.
But we thought the 2011 financial plan was just a carryover. The money that went into the water meter program was a carryover from 2010 monies.
It was a combination of the carryover from 2010 and what we received additionally in 2011. I can expand this report and bring it back to the next committee of the whole if you want, Your Worship.
What I'd like to see is, let's turn the clock back to 2010, when the council of the day approved the water meter program, and I thought it was closer to $1.45 million. But I could be wrong. You're saying it's 1.35
My
million.
recollection was 1.35.
Okay, so I want to see the water meter program that was approved in 2010 and how somehow this extra $200,000 that came back from the regional district, how that got rolled into that without our approval or without us knowing about it. I just, for the life of me, I saw one report a few months ago that said $650,000 from the regional district. And I asked the question, where did this extra $200,000 come from? Because the original plan was $450,000 grant from the regional district, gas tax money, general revenue. That's how we were funding the water meter project. And then I saw this magic figure of $650,000. I asked the question where that extra $200,000 came from, and I was told that that was money that came back from the regional district as part of that water meter grant. Actually, we paid more in taxes and they collected it for us and just gave it back to us. But I was always hoping that we would be able to use that extra $200,000 for an education program, and all of a sudden it disappeared and rolled into the water meter project, and that's not how we were funding it. And so I'm just a little concerned on how that happened and the procedure, how that came about. So we're going to have to turn the clock back to 2010, see the original report and how all the money has been spent on water meters to date. Because this one doesn't answer my question, because it still only shows $450,000 from the regional district when we've spent $650,000.
Councillor Rand, could I get you to put that in motion, what you would like, so we can discuss it?
I move that we direct staff to give us a complete picture of the funding and the expenditures on the water meters dating back to when the council of the day approved the water meter project in 2010.
I would second that, but I'd like to just add to it if I could, or maybe...
Well, second it, and then you can...
Okay, I'll
discuss it.
second it, and I'll see if I can add a little more, something I had just going to ask about. So I'll second it.
The motion is on the floor for discussion, you have the floor.
Okay, so in that report, with the regional district funding, I'm not 100% sure how that all works. So my understanding is that there's 12 cents a cubic meter of the water that we buy goes into a fund at the regional district, and I don't know how much money is in that fund and how much the town of Comox has access to. So I would like that to be part of that report as well.
Okay, so...
If I'm correct
regional
with
district
the words, yeah.
funding. Okay.
Your Worship?
Yes.
I believe that the 12 cents is not deposited to a separate fund anymore, and that was wound up, and the money directed to operations starting in 2011.
Yeah, I'm not on the water committee, so I don't know, but you are the chair, so.
Well, I'm the chair of the water committee. The 12 cents a cubic meter of water that Councillor Grant is talking about, when that was originally brought in under this water conservation program, that money was collected by the regional district, 12 cents a cubic meter. It went into a fund, and then that's that grant that we've talked about around this table for water meters for 3 years now, or 2 years. It wasn't a grant. They collected 12 cents a cubic meter on all our purchases. They accumulated this money, and then they gave it back to us for water meters.
No, for water efficiency.
For water efficiency, we used it for water meters. And when they decided that that program was over, because Courtney, I guess, no longer wanted to go on that,
That's right.
the regional district wound up that fund and gave everybody their money back.
Right.
Gave us all a grant.
So then have we got all the money is out, there is no money there then? Is that what I'm hearing, or how?
They're not banking any more money, but the money is now going into, it's going into operations. It's being put aside for future infrastructure grants. And I think it's actually gone up another 3 cents this year, so it's up to 15 cents, isn't it?
The 3 cent was for operation.
Okay.
But it's,
In any event, I guess those are kind of two separate motions. Did you get enough information, Councillor Ken Grant from Councillor Tom Grant?
there's no money left.
About the grant.
Yeah, but the grant, okay. Well, this is the grant, for the grants, yeah. Yeah, but, so now, yeah, I did. I'm wondering about, if we're putting that money into operations, then I guess I'm wondering how it gets spent, who determines where the money goes and all of that.
What the motion is speaking to is what happened over the last 2 years. On a going forward basis, that would be a separate type of motion.
Okay.
I could quickly answer it just by saying that in the budget at the regional district, that extra 12 or 15 cents, whatever we're talking about, will get put into a reserve fund
Right.
for future infrastructure, i.e. the deep water intake or the filtration or the UV, whatever we're going to do. And that's not going to be determined until later this year.
And is that a board decision then on how that would, like if they decide to go with a deep water intake, would that be a board decision?
We're getting off topic here.
We'll talk about
Okay.
I think
Well,
we'll
just,
have to
you
do
know,
that.
like, well, there's money there.
Well, it doesn't relate to this
Okay.
motion, really, directly. So, anything further on the motion, Director of Finance, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to say that, in fact, the capital reserves that they're contributing to aren't for the deep water intake necessarily. They've got major capital projects over the next 5 years in the water fund, and unlike the sewer fund, they're not using debt to finance any of their projects, they're funding them out of reserves. So they're putting money in year by year, but they're also drawing it out year by year. So,
I mentioned various projects that it could.
yeah, most of which are main upgrades.
Okay,
Right,
that's fine.
reservoirs.
I'm good with
The
that.
motion is to direct staff to provide a complete picture of the water metering funding program for 2010 and 2011. So I think that's in order for a vote, unless there's further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right. Moving on to page 31. Council
Sorry,
Fletcher?
Just on the report, if this is the correct time, I'm just wondering, should there be citizens that wish to further have a voluntary water meter? How would staff suggest that be addressed if someone came forward to the town requesting a water meter now at this time?
Okay, so you're talking about potential future funding of water meters? Okay, that's a good question for Director of Finance, perhaps to answer.
Your worship, at this point, there's no capital budget for additional water meters. So if you wanted to extend the program in any way, shape, or form, you'd have to allocate money in the financial plan towards it. As you can see, we haven't spent the water capital reserves that we intended to. We haven't spent the community works funds that we intended to. So there are potential funding sources available, but council would have to amend its financial plan. Well, not amend the financial plan, but include this in the upcoming financial plan.
Okay. And we'll see where we get to after we've had that other discussion about 2010 and 2011. All right. Councillor Price.
And just one quick question for clarification. It's correct that all new development has a meter put into it, paid for by the developer. Is that correct? Rather than being
Correct.
meter ready,
It's now part of our subdivision standards. Since 2001, our subdivision standards included the home be meter ready, but in fact now the subdivision standards include the requirement that it actually have a meter. So that's been a year and a half, Mark, year and a half, the subdivision bylaw has included that.
Thank you, Val. Councillor Fletcher? Oh, sorry, your pen was up. All right, so we got a further report coming back on the 2010 and 2011 funding, water meters, and now we are at page 31. So the staff have provided, as requested, some alternatives regarding residential meter rates, and staff are seeking some direction, and the motion as printed is suitable for moving, so we can guide our discussions.
I'll vote the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Councilor Tom, you had your hand up earlier about this.
Last week, we looked at a metered water rate of $24 minimum per month plus 88 cents a cubic.
20.
Or 20. And now, because I brought it up that people are going to be paying more, now we're reducing it down to $7.50. 17.50, sorry. And this is a utility. We're delivering this, and hopefully we're going to try and recover our money back. And all of a sudden, we got revenue that disappears out of here because I brought up a concern. And there's no... This whole thing is so convoluted, and it was so silly to begin with. When you look at our water usage of these people that have gone on to meters, it just shows you exactly what I said 2 years ago and what I said last year and what I'm going to say this year. We are not the water pigs that the regional district led us to believe, and this whole folly about water meters because we have to do this because people are using far too much water. Well, this is anecdotal evidence that we don't use too much water. We have some people that we have to identify who they are and stop them. But, we've spent over $1 million on these people putting water meters in there only to find out that they're good, solid citizens who haven't been abusing the system. And now we have to try and figure out how to charge them money for it. But we need X number of dollars to run this system. And so if these people are paying far less, other people have to start paying far more for that loss of revenue, because this is a utility. This is, we've got costs associated with this. And how fair is that to the people who don't have a water meter, and we don't have any money in our capital plan for more water meters? And if everybody comes screaming down to town hall asking for a water meter, we're going to have to come up with $3-4 million to do this, and we don't have it. And all because we were led to believe that there's this huge water problem and the citizens are just abusing this, and we're watering our lawns with treated water when in fact we spend about $15,000 a year on chlorine in this community to treat water. So
Yeah, I think part of it...
This whole thing is a mess, and I'm not supporting this at all. We got to quit this.
Well, the reality of the water license capacity being exceeded 3 out of the last 6 years was largely what spurred the discussion of the Water Committee over the last number of years. Going back 10, 12 years now, initiated actually by the City of Courtenay at the time, there has always been a discussion about water metering underway. So, we're looking at trying to establish a rate that will work, and staff have recommended a rate that they feel will work, and it'll be an ongoing process. Councillor Price.
Yes,
Councillor
and
Ken Grant.
Council did agree at the last meeting that the meter rates that were proposed were unrealistic and unlikely that anyone or very few people would take them up. In fact, people and Councillor Grant eloquently showed it, and I think a few of us had already worked those figures out, that it didn't really offer an incentive. In fact, people on the meter would have been paying significantly more per unit of water than somebody on the flat rate. So I think it's great that it went back to staff who came up with options. I'm wondering if at this point we can split the recommendation, so because it speaks to two things, and then vote first of all on whether there is agreement that we set a metered rate, and then look at what that metered rate would look like. I think that probably would be a clearer way to go. If that's any support for that.
Yeah, I don't know how appropriate that'd be, because there'd be no point in giving them the choice if there was no metered rate. So I'm just trying to understand why you want to split it.
Sorry, yeah, that's. I was just establishing if there is a willingness to establish that metered rate at this table. I personally support it because people were offered that ability when they took the meters. I don't think we're going to be inundated by people coming in asking for meters, but it was only 90 households took it up, and I would think that's probably the majority, if not all, the interest that we have at the moment.
Okay. Councillor Kennedy.
So I had a couple of phone calls on this issue at home from people that are metered, and they happen to be using less than the median rate, and they were, as you may be surprised to find, not happy that they were not going to be saving very much money at all, and they had this expectation that it would be more. I checked our own house and looked it up, and I think we're going to end up saving, and we're below the median rate as well, something between $9 and $12 a year. You know, unless you make that difference $400 or $500 different in a year, which good luck with that, because you can't do it, then I just don't
Not when
see...
the flat rate's 350.
Well, but then that can't, that has to change too, right? So, the math on this just doesn't really make any sense to me at all. And, I just don't see, now you've got people that actually have the meters and they're not happy, so I don't even, the whole thing doesn't make sense to me, and it never has, so.
Okay. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. Well, I hope that we can move forward with this tonight. Been a lot of work over the last few years working on this. I don't think anyone called a Comox citizen a water pig. I think what we saw was looming infrastructure costs. We saw a water license that had been limited by the province. There is not unlimited water. The province gives us a license and we can use that. We've asked for it to be expanded at times. It has not been approved. We have to look to the future. We've got extensive infrastructure costs coming. Water's going to become more expensive. There's a fairness principle. And my goodness, I've just looked all over the island and I see every community from Saanich to Souk to North to Western communities, Oak Bay, they are all water metered, let alone Qualicum, Parksville, Port Alberni, Port Hardy. We're not reinventing the wheel. I think we're just maybe catching up here. So I hope we can move forward with this. Thank you.
Councillor Tom.
It's always been my contention that the water meters, be they good or bad or indifferent, it's the money. It's the millions of dollars it's going to cost us and to water meter everybody when we don't have a water problem. Now you talk about, that we exceeded our water license. There has been times in the last few years, but it's been, that's starting to get historical, because I think last year in the regional district we used about 2 million cubic meters of water less than our water license that was granted to us in 1982. 1982, we were given a water license to use 9,100,000 cubic meters of water a year, and last year I think we used 6,900,000 cubic meters of water. We've got a lot of water left over, right, that we can still, and if you look at the graph of when we use our water, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to read this graph. June, July, August, September. So we got 4 months out of the year where we were using a lot of water. And we're not exceeding our water license. That's not, we have in the past, that's true. But all we have to do is bring those that water usage down in June, July, August, and September. And you don't need water meters to do that. I could hire 3 university students and give them all a bicycle from Simon Cycle and get them to go around and help people program their sprinkler systems so that they're working within what the watering restrictions say, and finding out these people who are watering their roofs, if that's true, according to one of the, I don't know, the silliness that goes on around this water business. All we have to do is bring down our water usage in June, July, and August, because the amount of water that our citizens are using in January, February, March, October, November, December is so far below the national average, it's unbelievable. You know, I mean, you just have to look at the numbers that Don has given us. People are using like 15 cubic meters a month of water. I mean, that is absolutely nothing. You know, we pay, anyway, it's not whether water meters are good or bad. It's the millions of dollars we're spending for a problem that doesn't exist. I mean, if you happen to be in Maidstone, Saskatchewan, you probably do have a water problem. You may have a water problem if you're in Terrace, BC, when the whole town is built on an old riverbed, and if you get a broken water main, the water goes straight down. Well, our water mains, when they break, the water comes straight up, and you know it in a pretty short order because I've had my water main break. So it's the millions of dollars I'm talking about, not the philosophy behind it.
And just to be clear, we're talking about an amendment here to the residential water rates. I know there's lots of debate on all sorts of issues to do with the water metering program. With all due respect, Council will resolve to spend some money, as our Director of Finance has provided, in the range of $1 million to meter some homes, and we're now being asked to consider implementing a residential water meter rate. So those owners in those homes will have the opportunity to elect to pay a meter rate rather than a continued flat rate. So that's what we're being asked to do here today. And is there any further speakers to that motion?
Well, I just wanted to, I don't, and I never have really understood what looming infrastructure and water meters really have to do with each other. I mean, if you need money...
Can you speak to the rates, please?
Well, it was brought up by Councillor Fletcher in her statement, and you let her speak, so...
And I let Councillor Tom speak, and I'm trying to bring council back to the discussion.
So I'm not allowed to speak on what you said.
Well, if you can make it relate somehow to the metered rate program that we're proposing here?
Well, it actually goes to whether we should have a metered rate at all, I guess, in that, why wouldn't you, if you need money for looming infrastructure, then you can always just raise your flat rate. You don't need, I don't get the correlation between meters and the flat rate. And as for exceeding our water license, it's my understanding that we took that, or the RD took that about 90% of the way to fruition, and when it came time to actually implement that, they never did send off. So they were not actually turned down, but they never actually fully applied for that. So that's my understanding of that. So a lot of the information that we're talking about is not really based on fact.
Well, the facts are that you were there, as well as Councillor Fletcher, at a meeting with then Minister Bennett about water infrastructure and the costs and the Water Smart program that the province has implemented. So I mean, it's a tough issue. I realize that, but we're being asked here to deal with a relatively straightforward issue here, and we need to discuss those concerns, whether that number of $17.50 per month works. For some, it will make a difference. For most, it will not. And people will have the choice to make. And that's really the rub of the matter here. Councillor Tom.
Okay. If council chooses to adopt these water rates, whatever they may be, and we find out that the people who are on water meters who are going to save a whole bunch of money come in, and so our revenue is reduced, but we're not saving any more water, so that means we have to make up that revenue somewhere else. What if there's a shortfall? What are we going to do? Are we going to raise these rates again? Are we going to raise the flat rate up? Or what are we going to do?
We will have to review rates on an annual basis as we normally do. And,
but we haven't put forth a business case to prove, to prove that we have enough money that's going to cover the utilities on, in this particular case. he's, you know, we tried 20 and I didn't like that, so now we come back with 1750, and I guess maybe somebody's going to like that. But
Well, we've given
what happened to that loss of revenue in there?
We've given 3 options here, and you know, I think that Councillor Price pointed out that it's not likely you're going to see a whole lot of people make the switch unless they are quite frugal with their water. If it is 15 cubic meters a month, you're down to 180 cubic meters a year. At $17.50 a month, it would be $241.68, and that would be obviously less than the flat rate, and that may encourage them to make that change. But I don't know what people will do. The 1,300 homes, how many of them will switch? And some may take a wait-and-see approach, others may decide to take a chance. So the idea has been all along that this is a pilot program, and to have the opportunity for people to make some decisions, as they do with the rest of the utilities, to make some financial decisions. And our financial responsibility, and staff has made a recommendation in support of this, and we'll have to review it as we go on an annual basis, as we always do. Whether it's a flat rate and meter rate, or if it's all metered. This time, we're talking about having a flat rate at $3.15 and a metered rate for those that wish to choose to pay a metered rate. Any further discussion? Councillor Swift.
Coming in late into the debate, I feel that water meters are a big issue, and that people that have volunteered for a meter have been led to believe that they're going to be having a meter choice. And so I think at this point that we need to give them a rate so they can decide whether they want to make the choice or not. And yes, they may be disappointed that they're not going to be saving more than they thought they might be, but the only way they can do that is to reduce it. So I guess I'm in favor of the recommendation simply because I think we need to come up with some numbers.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor McKenna.
My view is that with a pilot project, you don't make a rash decision based on 1 year. And like Councillor over there, we both came into this late. I have a document here which explains the proposed voluntary water metering program for Comox from 2009. And the intentions were good intentions. I don't think anyone argued with that. It was looking for the long term in case that they couldn't meet the water license requirement in the next 20 years. And I think to judge it on 1 year is too rash. We have a voluntary choice right now. Perhaps after 2 or 3 years, you can look at the numbers then, and you can come to a better decision. So I think it's wise to leave people with the choice and continue as with the pilot project.
Councillor Kent.
I guess one of the problems I've always had with this whole thing is that you're saying that people have a choice, but I would continue to point out that only some people have that choice, and that we have no more money, and we're not going forward at this point anyway with any further program. So what I think you think is being fair, I think is being highly unfair to 2/3 of the people that have no choice at all, because they didn't get a meter.
They could have signed up for one last year.
Could have, but didn't. So is it really fair? I don't think it is.
Well, the council can determine in its financial planning process here coming up whether they want to make allowances for that. And we do have sources of funds. So is there any further discussion?
I guess
Yes, Councillor.
just to close, I mean, I share Councillor Grant's concern regarding the business case, and hopefully the amount of revenue that's going to come in isn't going to affect the flat pay users significantly, so that they're having to pay significantly more. But I guess we'll have to see.
And we'll review that on an annual basis. Okay, seeing no further hands, we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? Those opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so moving on, we have for receipt under special reports the regional district meeting minutes of the regional district board, January 31, hospital district board, February 3 and 24,
Solid Waste Management, February 3.
Move receipt of all of those.
Thank you.
Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Any discussion arising out of that? Seeing none, we'll move into bylaws now. So we are at page 51, and the first bylaw for first, second, and third reading is bylaw 1701, Comox Municipal Marina Fees Bylaw.
Move first, second, and third.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And then we have bylaw 1714 is the refuse collection bylaw for first, second, and third reading.
Move for second and third reading, bylaw 17.
Second.
1714.
Oh, sorry, 14. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. CAO, what are we doing with 1715 then?
Your Worship, we have, the council wishes, given that you've approved the residential metered rate, we have a bylaw that we would substitute for the bylaw that's on the agenda that just includes the residential metered rate, and as well as the committee recommendations that were approved in terms of increasing the flat fees from before.
Okay.
So just the bylaw then encompasses everything
And
that
we
was
discussed in previous part. All right, thank you. Give everyone a moment.
The other aspects that it also includes, it was discussed at committee last time, was provision for somebody that fixes a leak that's been discovered. There's an amended rate that we would apply to that.
Under page 4 there. Discounted rate for leak repairs.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If somebody's on a water meter now, but they've already, the tax notices, when they come out, will the flat rate come off of that and they'll start getting billed monthly? And how does this work for the commercial users who are now on water meters and the strata people who are on?
Well, go ahead.
Well, my intention is, Your Worship, is that if the bylaw is adopted and we have metered rates for residential customers, we would write to those residential customers who potentially could switch, so in other words, they have meters, and give them it's a fairly narrow window of opportunity, because by the end of April, we need to hear back,
Yes.
because we've got to make changes to the tax system, make sure that they're either charged or not the full amount. So, given that this bylaw, or any rate change bylaw, will only be effective the 1st of April, right? There's 3 months under the old rates, and so that we may charge on the tax notice. If they elect to switch over, we may still leave that on the tax notice. I haven't figured out the logistics entirely yet. But basically, they wouldn't be charged the 2012 at the new rates. They would instead be sent a quarterly bill through 2012.
That? Councilor Tom?
I just think you better articulate this properly for strata corporations especially, because now there's a lot of strata, well, everybody in a strata corporation has been paying a flat rate of $303 a year, and now they're only going to be paying a flat rate up to April 1st, and then after that they're paying the metered water rate, so the strata corp...
If they so choose.
If the strata corporation chooses.
That's what I meant.
So that's what I mean, you have to tell them, because now all of a sudden, on April 1st, they have to raise their strata rates, and you should be recommending how much per unit. You know,
Well, that
I mean, it
would
has to be
have- that would
explained
have
to
to
them,
them.
because it's, well,
In the city of Courtenay, all the stratas do pay
think, by and large, through a heated system, so it will be something.
There's only 1 meter on a strata, so...
And the same, and as I say, it is something that other communities have gone through, and the strata corporations will have to establish a fee, and they may decide for this year they're not going to switch, or it'll be up to them.
Given that we don't have summertime readings
For the
most of the
stratas.
stratas, most of the strata meters went in the fall. So given that we don't have readings throughout 2011, I'm expecting that most will sit on the sidelines for a year. Apart from that, they have varying year ends, and so they may be having their annual general meeting at different times. So it may not be practicable for many of them to switch in 2012. But if they want to, they can.
If you were to tell them there's potential savings of probably $100 to $150 a unit, I think they'd move pretty quick.
Yeah, it would be up to the strata corporation to, on its governance model, to figure it out.
In terms of the savings, if you turn to page 32, at $17.50 a month, you'll see that the maximum saving is $105 a year. And I would think that most strata units would be able to achieve that. There'd be a few exceptions probably, but by and large, based on the Courtney data, because they've got all the strata units with 4 or more units, all the stratas with 4 or more units metered. Their data shows that actual water use is much, much lower than single-family homes.
Any further questions on the bylaw? Councilor Candratt?
I got a couple here. I noticed on our meter rate for other customers at 88 cents. I'm concerned about some of our commercial users, specifically some of the restaurants in town, and the hospital and other places like that, and schools as well, I suppose. You know what? Everybody out there is struggling in those areas to try and make ends meet, and as we just keep climbing these rates up, we're not helping the business climate nor the institutional climate around our town at all by doing this. So, you know, I don't know, frankly, what the solution is on this. The other thing is, at a meeting a while back, I think Tom mentioned that we were being charged 62 cents a cubic meter from the regional district, and it was brought up by the mayor and Don that our actual cost is more like 99 cents a cubic meter, which is obviously where we're trying to get to with this rate. Where's the other 35 to 37 cents? I think we asked for that. I think it would be important to this discussion to know where that money is actually going. The other thing is, I'm not 100% clear on this discounted rate for leak repairs. I wonder if you could just explain that so that I can get my head around what you're meaning by that.
Okay, Director of Finance, I think you can probably answer the second question first, or the first question.
Sure. In the past, we've never had an allowance for leaks. If somebody has a leak and they fix it, and they've used an awful lot of water in the meantime, they're out of pocket. Times are how much water that disappeared times the bulk water, or times our meter rate. A lot of communities have essentially a markdown to half or less if somebody has a leak and fixes it. Now, that's really not something we can offer. We can't go that far because we pay 62 cents a cubic meter for every cubic meter of water we buy from the regional district, right? It's not like we're drawing water from a well, putting a squirt of chlorine and passing it along. We have to buy every drop of water we use. So what I'm suggesting is we can only go as far as, realistically, as the bulk water rate. And a lot of communities require that if you're going to claim this, that you show evidence that the repair has been completed. So you show us a plumbing invoice, and then it's based on the estimated loss. So what we're trying to do is cut something of a break here for people to recognize that if they fix the leak, they made an effort to solve a problem that affects them and ourselves. Going back to the first question, what's the difference between the regional district's bulk water rate and what our total cost of water is? The first thing we have to remember is that we do not deliver all the water that we buy from the regional district. Any system has leaks, right? And although we do our best to find them, the reality is that there are leaks out there, and we do not deliver all the water that we buy. A system of our age and status, you know, not status, but construction type. Most municipalities with similar systems as to ours have losses somewhere around 20%, is what Glen Westendorf has told me in the past. And so that's probably a good starting point. The regional district has been promising a leak detection program for 2 years now. We're in the third year that it'll be in their financial plan. And it would be really useful for them to do some engineering on this and basically look at our water use overnight and try to determine what the use of water in Comox is when most of the town is sleeping, because that'll be a good indicator as to how much we're losing. Now, on top of that, we maintain the system, we read the meters, we do the billing, we charge a certain amount of overhead to from Public Works and Administration, because administration is paying bills on behalf of the water fund and collecting their revenue. Public Works is doing the engineering and repairs and maintenance. So to the extent that there are kind of unrecoverable costs in Public Works, we charge a portion of their costs as well to the water system. I think those amount to, I'm going by memory here, but it's less than $200,000 a year between the two recoveries.
Not much.
It seems to me that you're suggesting, though, that we have a huge amount of leakage in our system.
I'm suggesting that we have a normal amount of leakage in our system. Some of which will be happening in our lines, some of which will be happening on customer property, some of which will be happening in their houses. And the leaks vary in terms of the sizes. Could be a toilet that's running, could be a faucet that's dripping, could be a service connection that's leaking, could be an irrigation system that has leaks. There's a variety of sources and causes. But we know that we found leaks in Comox on our water mains, and I presume that there are probably some out there that we haven't detected. And that's where the regional district's leak detection program would come in, would be very valuable to us. And as well, I think some of the councillors who were at FCM in Nova Scotia saw the rather extensive efforts that Halifax uses to address its leak detection.
Okay, so question 2 on that then is, then the regional district fund that has 12 cents a cubic meter going to, can they not use that?
In fact, again, I want to address that there isn't a fund, Your Worship, but they do have water efficiency budget line items, and when you drill down and go into that, yes, there are a variety of things, including advertising and education, bylaw enforcement, and leak detection is still on the list, and we just hope they'll get to it this year.
Councillor Thomas.
Well, the regional district in the water committee budget has set, the water committee budget hasn't been approved yet. There's $50,000 in the whole system for leak detection. So don't be looking for Big Brother to help us on that.
We have found some leaks actually through our voluntary water metering program, so that's had some success, and remarkably in some of the newer houses as well. Connections between the street and the house, and I know that in Foxwood Highwood subdivision, which was built about 20 years ago, there have been some significant breaks because of the type of pipe that was used, and those are being replaced as homeowners discover those leaks. Councillor Fletcher?
Just on the leak detection at the water committee yesterday, when we were doing the financial plan, the line item was there. I did ask if it was going to be addressed, as it has been sitting there since 2009, and staff assured us that that was an intent of their work plan this year to do just what you said, the leak analysis at nighttime and do it for the Courtney time. We'll hope that follows through.
All right.
So we have bylaw 1715 for consideration, first, second, and third reading. Sir, did we move that already? We handed it out.
First and second reading.
First, second, and third reading, it's been moved. Is there a seconder? Second. Further discussion on that? Councillor Grant.
Okay, so I'm still concerned about our commercial rates and our institutional rates at 88 cents a cubic meter, and, you know, without having to rework the entire water thing, you know, I guess, to me, it just seems like we're in tough times, and this is akin to a tax for a lot of these guys. You know, it's just driving the cost of what they're trying to do up, and so, you know, I don't know what a fair rate is. What do we charge you, 78 cents now? So, you know, I'd prefer to see us not raise that at all on these guys in today's economy, but if we could, maybe something a little less onerous might be easy. You know, the hospital, how do you cut back on water if you're the hospital? I don't know how you do it, so.
Our Director of Finance can comment. I'll just say, I do recall a statement made, I think by our Director of Finance a couple meetings ago, or maybe last meeting, where it was pointed out that in fact the residential flat rate payers have been essentially subsidizing the 78-cent commercial rate. So we're trying to bring that up to match truer cost. Director of Finance.
I liaised with finance staff at the hospital 2.5 weeks ago. They were building their budget for the coming year. I pointed out the rate increases that were coming in water and also to the compactor garbage rate. And when it came to water, in my communication, I suggested that if they haven't already done it, they look at the benefits of low-flow toilets. That's one area where they can reduce their water use if they haven't already made the switch.
And the schools do not do any outside watering, to my knowledge, anymore, if they ever did.
And for some of them, it's absolutely amazing how little water they use. I've been almost stunned by the Francophone school and how little water it's using. It's almost unbelievably low.
Well, it is built to a LEED standard, so hopefully that reflects that.
Thank God it's working.
So unless there's a motion to amend the bylaw as far as that rate goes, we'll carry on. Councillor McKinnon.
Councillor Fletcher mentioned that she had some information about the rates down Island. How do this proposed rate compare to some of the rates down Island, or do you have that at your fingertips?
Yeah,
My understanding is our rates are pretty good in comparison, but I looked at something a month ago, so I want to refresh my memory.
yeah, so these rates are going at the 300 cubic meters, which I believe that's what we were referencing in our rates as well on the rate page, over for an annual cost of 300 cubic meters. Now, we have an annual of, sorry?
303.
So at 1750, it was 347.28. Saanich is 390. Oak Bay is 364. Sydney's 493. North Saanich is 511. Western Communities 477. So we're I think in
In the ballpark.
very much in the ballpark, but not in the lower end of the ballpark.
All right, any further discussion on the rates? Seeing none, ready for the question? All those in favor of first, second, and third reading? Those opposed? Two opposed, motion carries. All right, moving on to sewer user rate bylaw 1716 for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the sewer? None of those exciting. All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Nobody wants to talk to us.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right, and then we're now into new business. It's the secondary suite application for the Ballons at Milford Avenue, bylaw 1711, first and second reading.
Move first and second.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And in accordance with section 894 of the Local Government Act, the requirement to hold a public hearing on this bylaw be voted.
Move.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so that'll be subject to further process, but you're underway with your application. All right, at page 73, we have the strategic plan that has been amended as based on some discussions we had a couple weeks ago. And your further comments or, in fact, an approval of adoption motion would be in order.
I would move that we adopt that.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher, then Swift.
Can I just ask, on page 77, we amended it, and the line item says, allow secondary suites in all single-family dwellings, which I think is great, but just for clarification, are we just saying, like, if the community looks at this and goes, oh, it's okay if I have a secondary suite, or are we still saying they need to come through an approval process?
A building permit process.
Yeah. So what concerned me about that is if someone looked at that and went, oh,
The wording.
you're allowed to have a secondary suite, and come on, so I don't need to, just maybe some wording that would just, with permit,
Subject to a permit?
subject, yeah.
It's really, it's a zoning amendment that will be required, right? Are we going to bring a zoning bylaw forward?
The details of that will be in the zoning amendment. There'll be an amendment for the whole town, and it will include those provisions. Remember, this is a strategic plan, and this is
Yeah, but
an
what I'm
action
concerned
plan.
about is someone looking online and looking, going, oh, well, it's okay, I can do this, and being unaware that there is a
Subject to
process.
permit application.
I think if we just add, consider a zoning bylaw to permit secondary suites in all single-family dwellings. If we just add that text,
Sure.
Okay,
Is it-
that'll indicate that it's an action item for council.
great.
Do you need that as an amendment to this? or-
We've just got it there. Thank you. Anything further? Oh, Councillor Swift, yes.
My comments are on the same item. And I'm wondering if we need to add the words owner occupied in there.
It's part of the bylaw.
That's
Part of our OCP.
It's covered in the zoning provision, that single or secondary suites must be owner occupied.
That's in our OCP as well.
So you don't think that it should come into this, in the strategic plan already?
Not unless we're changing the OCP, and the OCP already says that.
Okay.
Good point, though, good reminder. Anything further? Call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, staff. And also, just wanted to pay special thanks to our facilitator who helped us through this process. Relatively comprehensive over a couple of meetings, and it worked out really well. So. Brenda Holmes. Great. All right, on to correspondence then. Oh, and on that strategic plan, CAO and I will come up with a suitable press release cover letter for it with those changes. That's mentioned tonight. Okay, so correspondence, we have the 2012 Heart and Stroke Big Bike.
Move receipt and that we grant them their permission that they're requesting.
Second.
Moved and second, any further discussion? Councillor Fletcher?
Props to the chair to Councillor Bennett. Is that the same weekend as the hockey tournament and the Shellfish Festival and all?
That's a good
Of course it is.
It feels like it.
Yes, it is.
It might be. Well, they'll just have to go around.
Well, I might want to know.
Well, that's a good
maybe.
point, yeah. Is that the Father's Day weekend?
Yes, it is.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Case, move approval subject to rerouting them down to Beaufort on their bike.
Well, they're starting at the mall, so they could presumably start at a different part of the mall
At the back of the mall.
and come down
Hills are hard on
Port
that
Augusta.
bike.
Well, they could start on that side of the mall next to where the Lord used to be. And, because they're not going through where the hockey rinks are, if you can see the map.
No, well, I don't have time with that, actually.
On the next page. So they'll just have to...
Oh, I see, they're just exiting out and going the other way.
Yeah.
And then, okay, yeah, no, so it won't affect it at all then.
But I suppose we'll remind them when we send a letter. Right, staff?
Yeah.
They should be reminded.
We'll soon find out. Councillor Price.
And that day is also Car-Free Sunday.
It is.
Oh, yes.
Well, they're not a car, so they're good.
So they're good.
And shellfish. And we'll probably still be skiing in the water.
Subject to reminding them of that, that's good, yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Saw that.
Motion's carried. Okay, Elizabeth Bunny Shannon, Social Planning Society. We have not appointed somebody at this point, and this was requested to be put on this agenda in case somebody was interested in being appointed to the Social Planning Society. And I didn't have any volunteers at the outset, so is there any volunteers now? Yes, Councillor Blake.
I have sat on the Social Planning Council in the past, and
Okay.
I do think it's important to have someone there, and so I will volunteer myself.
All right. Okay, a motion to that effect then? So moved, Kevin. Seconder?
Receive the letter as well.
Well, we'll do it all at the same time. On receipt and appointment of Councillor Price. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Councillor Price. Heather Nay and the Transition Society, Peace Begins at Home Purple Ribbon Campaign. I attended the kickoff breakfast for that, and that campaign starts April 16th. And they're looking for a resolution, a motion in support. And I think they've given us some wording on that already. I don't see it here. We will provide that if council so wishes.
So we'll move receipt and then we support their efforts.
Yes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Policing priorities for 2012 from Acting Officer in Charge Bill Gibbing, Staff Sergeant. Looking for any specific directions from this council. They need to know that by April 1st, so we do have a little bit of time. So we can certainly refer that to the committee of the whole if you wish, or if you have any suggestions now, we can make those.
So I move that we refer that to the committee of the whole so we can get a chance to think about it.
Okay, sounds good. So committee, yes?
Sorry, and if all staff, senior staff have this, so that they perhaps can provide.
Well, it'll be referred to committee of the whole and then be here. Maybe next week, CEO?
Yes.
Okay. So motion to refer to committee of the whole for next week. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Then we have from the award secretariat for the Order of BC nominations.
We'll move receipt of that.
Receipt. If you wish to nominate anyone, we would have to do that for zoning and camera. So if any councilor wishes to do that, you can certainly call such a meeting. But I think they're just wanting to promote this opportunity. So anything further on that? All those in favor of receipt then? I'll carry. Lastly, we have a request for letter of support from our friends at Tilbury Heritage Lodge and Park Association for their application for funding at the Vancouver Foundation level. Letter of support would be in order.
So I would move that recommendation, give them the letter of support and receive the letter.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right. Reports from members of council. Councillor Swift.
I spent last week in Kelowna at the Building Sustainable Communities 4 days. I spent in seminars and panels and discussions and things. It was an excellent smorgasbord of topics, especially for somebody new to these areas. We did leadership, water management, carbon neutral, economics, public engagement, affordable housing, and on it went. And it was a large cross-section of academics, economists, engineers, planners, elected officials, and health authorities, and so on. So it was great. It was really a wonderful seminar, and all their information is going to be available online. So I thought that was worthwhile, and they did not give out any handouts, so I didn't come back with a bunch of papers, but I can go back and refer the areas that I'm really interested in, and the ones that I didn't get to attend. I also attended the Nautical Days meeting, which happened on Monday night, and the Sewer Commission meeting yesterday.
Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. Since we last met, I attended both the solid waste, regional solid waste, and the regional hospital board meetings in late February. Please, everyone note, the open houses for the solid waste management plan are starting to happen. This advertisement was in the paper today. So I'd certainly encourage all members of council and the community at large to try and attend and be aware. It's a really important part of our community, our garbage. So please attend those if you can. Also attended the first Nautical Days meeting on Monday night, and Ron and Councillor Swift joined us, and pleased to say that budget trimming is occurring, and not at the expense of a wonderful family weekend, though. And further to that, yesterday there was the sewer meeting, the water meeting, and the other pool. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Kengren.
Yeah, so I attended the Courtney downtown when they were doing their, I guess it was a roundtable on how to revitalize, or as we call it, vitalize their downtown core, and sat through that. Interestingly enough, many of their issues were similar to ours. Some of the things that they thought were important was to get a proper vision for what their downtown area is and what it should look like in the future, and density seemed to be quite a good, the solution that they were looking at to have more people living down there. So it was an interesting meeting because it really kind of goes right along hand in hand with what we're trying to do with ours. So a lot was learned there. I also attended an economic development meeting. We had the lady from the Discovery Center came and told us we've had over 1,700 people through there to date. They're not even officially open yet, so they've had the doors open as they sort of work the kinks out, which is slightly ahead of what we had at the other tourist information centers already. So been a bit of a success there, considering that they're not even open yet. And the signage, you've probably noticed around town that the visitor information signage still doesn't point towards the center. It's because they haven't officially opened. They will be. They're targeting for the end of April. So those signs will all be changed, and will be more signs added to make it even more accessible, especially down the Parkway, down onto Small Road, and up. But also, they're looking at signs from our marina, the airport, and the ferry. So any entrance that people can make into our community to point them to where the visitor info center is. So that's all in the works as we speak. Strategic planning for the BIA, we're meeting tomorrow night, and they'll be interested to see what our strategic plan looks like, and they're going to try and help make theirs kind of dovetail into ours, because a lot of the issues are going to be similar. So that'll be an interesting discussion tomorrow night. That's what I've done.
Great, thank you. Councillor Price.
Yes, I attended the Comox Archives and Museum Society monthly meeting, and attendance continues to climb. There is an AGM this Saturday, 1 o'clock, with Rick James speaking at 2 down in the Lions Den, if anyone can make it. I attended the Regional District Board as an alternate for Councillor Fletcher. I attended the Cycling Task Force. I'd just like to pass on that the cyclists are very grateful for the work that Comox did last year. Bike to Work Week is May the 28th to June the 3rd, and Car Free Sunday is actually June the 17th. It's Father's Day when everything's happening. They are apparently working with the BIA, and I think Councillor Ken Grant has had some discussions, and they are hoping to have an event in all the communities this year. They're looking at a very small area in Comox, and I understand that discussions have already started, so that...
That discussion will be going tomorrow night.
Wonderful. So lots of lead-in. We're going to hope to make it work. I attended the Philberg Lodge Youth Art Show opening, and I also went to the musical memorial tribute to Jerry Beat.
Okay, great. Councillor Kennett.
Yes, I've been working on finalizing the Ray Crossley Youth Achievement Awards Committee. I've got an athletics rep now, a fine arts rep. I need someone on council who's involved with Comox Rotary Club to get to connect me with a Rotary Club member, and with the intent of recommending award winners twice a year. And we'd like to get that off the ground for sure.
Well, pick me.
How would you like to do that?
That was a cue and a hit, Tom.
Okay, I picked up one.
I attended the Community Justice Center committee meeting, and lastly, Well, it's really the Comox side. I'm coaching the junior girls basketball team from Isbell in the provincial championship starting tomorrow, and half the girls are from the Comox side of town, so good on those Comox girls.
Good on you for doing that. Councillor Tom.
I attended the solid waste management meeting, I attended the regional hospital meeting, regional district committee of the whole meeting, and I chaired the sewer commission meeting as well as a water committee. And with those, we're trying to finalize the budgets on all of these things, so it's a very busy time with lots of reading. I'm sure Councillor Fletcher will agree.
So that'll be done by the end of this month, right?
Yeah, the regional district, their budgets have to be finished by March 27th, so there's lots of work.
Good stuff. All right, I'll just report on a few things. I was away for the last council meeting attending a reception at Government House of Victoria for the 100th anniversary of the Vancouver Island Construction Association, which was a wonderful event, and also had the opportunity to meet with our MLA and attend the legislature to see actually them debating the municipal auditor general debate legislation, which of course has been somewhat lost in all the school Bill 22 stuff, but that is still making progress. And we will hopefully get a letter from the provincial government very soon to confirm their cost sharing on the pill. So that's, we're waiting for that. And met with a few residents regarding traffic safety issues, governance issues about, I know a few years ago, remember there was a group calling itself One Valley, One Government, and they're certainly out and about again. And we'll see where that goes to. The kickoff breakfast for the Purple Ribbon campaign mentioned. And also the Vancouver Island Mountain Sports Center opening up at Mount Washington for that facility. There's several charitable events coming up. First of all, the Mayor's Golf Tournament, Mayor's plural now, is going to be held in September at Crown Isle, September 7th. So those who are interested, there'll be more information on that. It's being coordinated through the Old House Hotel. And there's also another hockey game. I know the Rotary one has been mentioned, but the Mayor's hockey game will be held the following weekend, and that will be to benefit Kids Sport, another local charity. And I met with the Chamber of Commerce, Bob Scales, their president, and Diane Hawkins, their manager, about some of their concerns and issues, similar to what Councillor Grant has talked about in terms of the BIA. So I've encouraged them to work with the BIA and as well as Economic Development Society on some of those things. Kickoff event for the Pink Shirt Day was held last Wednesday at Quality Foods, and also participated with our Economic Development Officer in hosting a group from Edmonton, the Economic Development Group from the Edmonton area. I think they presented at the Seabeds Board as well. Yep. They were here Saturday night winding up their visit at the Blackfin, so I came down and met a few of those guys, and there's still lots of interest in the valley from the Edmonton area. So good to see that, and John Watson doing his job. He's actually in Washington, D.C. as we speak on yet another effort that he's been asked to attend. So those are reports, I guess. Any media questions at this time? Okay. Any public questions at this time? Yes, sir?
Just to get back to the water meter thing.
And your name, sir?
Mel Pepperly.
Mel?
Pepperly.
Pepperly, yes, sir.
Just to get back to the water meter thing quickly, is I thought the idea of installing water meters was so that people would use less water. If you're charging me a flat rate of $17.50 a month, you're taking away any reason for me to save water. Because my usage all last year, I have the meter, my usage last year was only 85.136 cubic meters per, and I didn't save, I used water normal. So, I'm not going on to a metered system if I gotta pay a $17.50 flat rate. Ridiculous.
Okay, well.
And secondly, I have another question.
Okay.
Last Wednesday on the news, CTV News, it was about the people are first getting their readings from the smart meters now, getting their bills, and the bills in the Lower Mainland have doubled and tripled. So is Comox considering sending an opt-out letter to BC Hydro, the same as Cumberland, Maple Ridge, and other cities have done?
But we haven't considered to this point, no.
Will you consider it then?
If somebody, I think, is making presentations, and whether or not they appear before us to do that, or if a councillor wants to bring that forward, that would be up to members of
Yeah,
the council.
because Cumberland, was in the paper last week, Cumberland sent in one.
Yeah, I understand they received a presentation, perhaps from one of the union members.
And several other cities have.
Yes.
this problem.
Yeah, no, that's not unusual. All right, no further questions, motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
In favor? Motion's carried.